Traditional arrow signs, as Yamashita treasure signs, Part 2. In the previous video, we have already discussed the arrow signs that are composed of the arrow tips or arrowheads. So on this second part of the series, we are going to cover the traditional type of arrow signs, and the different ways of interpreting them. As a start of this discussion, what you are seeing right now in this illustration is a simple arrow sign pointing at a downward direction. But at its back portion, you will notice the second arrowhead, which is also pointing on the same direction. This confirms that you need to follow the direction going downward to a depth of 3 feet. Each arrowhead at the back portion of a traditional arrow sign has an equivalent value of 3 feet depth. So if you happen to discover a marker like this with more additional arrowheads at the back, then it means deeper depth. As an example, we have here 3 additional arrowheads at the back, where it means that the depth is 9 feet. To all those who preferred to find small treasure deposits or giveaways, this is the type of marker that you should take note. This sign is composed of a traditional arrow sign, but at the back portion of it is a square symbol. This square symbol is what represents the hidden small treasure deposit or giveaway. On this arrow sign, what we now have at the back portion is not a square symbol but an X. When it comes to its meaning, the arrowhead is pointing into the direction where the item is buried, while the X represents a medium to large treasure deposit. This marker looks almost the same as the previous sign, but only viewed at a different angle. The arrow sign is pointing at a downward direction, while at the top is the X symbol. This means that the treasure deposit is hidden underneath. Just like what you are seeing right now in this illustration, there are 2 arrow signs which are pointing in opposite directions. If this is the type of arrow sign that you discovered on your site, it means that there are 2 separate treasure deposits hidden on your site. The arrangement of these 2 arrows can also be like this. This is another arrow sign for those who simply want to search for small, or giveaway treasure deposits. It is composed of 2 arrow signs arranged in X, and they are pointing at a downward direction. The meaning of this arrow sign is again, there are 2 separate treasure deposits on the site. And the most interesting part is that, they are buried at shallow depths. This is one of the markers that I have already encountered several times in our past actual excavation sites. It consists of 2 arrow signs that are pointing into the dot symbol. When it comes to its meaning, what you have to do is to search for the group of old trees or rocks. Then in the middle, that is the spot that you need to dig. This marker is composed of an arrow sign with arrowheads on opposite sides. At each end, there is a dot or hole on it. I have already stated several times in the previous videos, that when it comes to dots or holes, they commonly represent the treasure deposit. So on this sign, these 2 dots represent 2 separate treasure deposits hidden on opposite sides. As an example, if you found this particular sign on your site engraved on a surface of a huge rock, then it means that the deposits are buried on its 2 opposite sides. As you can see on this illustration here, this marker consists of 1 straight arrow sign but with a broken body. Between this broken part is a dot, while there is again another dot at the further end. If this is the type of arrow sign that you found on your site, then it actually has an interesting meaning. It means that the treasure deposit is very near. In short, you have to continue digging for a few more depths before you will finally uncover the item. This arrow sign marker is often used by the Japanese imperial soldiers as a follow-up to the previous marker. It almost has the exact same appearance, where the only difference is the number of the dots. This one only has one dot, which is in the middle. When it comes to its meaning, it wants to inform you that you will encounter one more marker before you will uncover the item. What you are seeing in this illustration is an arrow sign marker, which has an incomplete form where it only has half arrowhead. This is actually intended because it has relation to its meaning. It means that the treasure deposit is hidden at the left portion of the site. This is also how the marker will look like if the item is hidden at the right portion of the site. Sometimes, these markers also have dots or holes as an added symbol. If this is the type of arrow sign that you found in your site, it means that you need to dig underneath it, because buried on that spot is the item. The two arrowheads that are pointing in the same direction confirms that this is the direction that you need to follow. As for the dot, this represents the hidden object. You will notice that this arrow sign has a body that consists of a short body, which goes downward before going in a straight direction. If this is the type of marker that you found on your site, especially under the ground, or tunnel, then it means that you are very close to the treasure deposit. The direction of the arrowhead also dictates the direction that you need to follow. There could be a case that this is the version of the marker that you might discover. It has an additional symbol above it. But despite the difference, the meaning remains the same. To all engineers who are treasure hunters, you might already be familiar with this type of arrow sign marker. But for those who do not, the number above this arrow sign is the bearing angle. This is an angle that has something to do about how high or low is the direction being indicated by the arrow sign marker. As for the number below it, it is clearly understood that it refers to distance. Here is an arrow sign which means that the treasure deposit is hidden on one of the corners. This could be at the corner of a huge old rock, or old tree, which depends on your site. As for the dot, this represents the hidden item. And for the final arrow sign featured on this video, we have here a wavy line as the body of the arrowhead. This means that you simply have to continue digging towards the direction being pointed by the marker.